What's up everyone, back for another beer review, and today is another installment of Macro Monday here on the channel where I review a beer from a macro brewery or a macro-esque beer from a craft brewery. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from Montucky Cold Snacks, and they are headquartered in Bozeman, Montana, and this is their Montucky Cold Snack. So this is American lager that comes in at 4.1% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed. Time of review, I don't know exactly how old this can is because the numbers on the bottom of the can do not make sense. So I'll just say that this is probably relatively fresh and it's been kept cold the entire time, so we should be good to go. So I've had a lot of viewers of the channel suggest this one for a Macro Monday, so I finally picked up a can, and I can see why a lot of people enjoy this one. The price point, which we'll talk about at the end, fantastic for this beer, very comparatively speaking, it's right in the wheelhouse of a lot of macro beers of this ilk. So anyway, we're gonna crack this one open, get it into the glass, and see what we got going on here. Now, this one is contract brewed at in La Crosse, Wisconsin, just to throw that out there. Also, 8% of the net profits from this beer actually go to nonprofit organizations and charities wherever this beer is sold. So I think that's pretty damn awesome. And this also has no corn syrup in it, no corn or rice filler. So this is an American lager, more or less. Throw this over here, and yeah, that pours out exactly what you would think a beer like this should look like, in my opinion. It has that very light kind of, I'd say, yellow straw color. Lots of carbonation, about a finger of a soap sudsy, bright white looking head. The clarity's through the roof, hold it up to the light, and you can definitely like see my entire hand through it. Yeah, it's exactly what you'd expect from an American lager. This in the nose reminds me of Busch, and what was the other beer that I had recently? I forget, but it also had a very similar characteristic. There's not a lot in the nose. There's this very generic, light, sweet, like graininess from the malt. Maybe a touch of like a red apple. Maybe a little bit of grassiness. Wow, the nose is super subdued and light, so probably the quickest aroma ever. There's just not a whole lot going on. Smells all right though, like inoffensive. Let's get into it. Cheers, everyone. So I've heard people say this before, not about this beer specifically, but about macro lagers. I've actually seen some fellow beer tubers review macro lager and think it's a cider. That's what's kind of happening right here. It has a pronounced like red apple kind of note to it. Kind of weird. Let's go body and mouthfeel. Body on this, lower side of medium, maybe higher side of light, kind of in that realm between the two. Fine, 4.1% is fine. Light enough to make it quite refreshing and keep you coming back for more and not bogging down the palate, but there's enough heft here that you wouldn't say this is watery, at least I don't think so. The mouthfeel, it's crisp, it's clean, it's relatively refreshing. It's kind of what you want from a macro beer, honestly. But the taste, there's a very slight generic, again, like sweet, malty kind of graininess at the forefront, and that is omnipresent, hits me right at the beginning, carries on through. Midway through the palate, where's that? It's like a red apple core, red apple skin. It's not like the sweetness you get from a red apple, but kind of just a characteristic. And then you get the underlying sweetness from the malt, so it kind of starts making me think about a cider. It has a lot of carbonation like a cider would have. It doesn't have like the slight tartness you would get, especially if you got a cider that was like made with like a Granny Smith apples or something, but it's just kind of reminiscent of like a regular alcoholic cider. Finishes semi-dry. No bitter to speak of. This does lean a little bit sweet, but it's not overly sweet. I will say that it's a bit sweeter than a lot of my favorite macro lagers and low ABV crushers, but I don't find it cloying or like over the top. I'd easily be able to drink 2 or 3, 4 or 5 cans of that, and I don't think I'd have an issue. It actually has a decent flavor to it. It's just not what I expected. It kind of, again, if I was doing this blind, I'd be like, is someone fucking with me? Did they give me a fucking, a cider of some sort at like 5.5%? No, they didn't. I can see why people enjoy this one. Like, I don't find anything offensive about this one. If you don't like red apples or you don't like that apple character, might be a little bit too much. Then again, you might not even pick up on the apple character. To me, it honestly has a big red apple note to it. What do I think about this one? As far as like an American lager goes, or like, you know, American adjunct lager, even though this isn't, but in that realm of like a macro lager, it's different. I've gotten that red apple kind of feeling a couple times, but not to this level. This is definitely a little bit more vibrant. However, it is pretty dry. It's semi to full on dry now that I'm sitting here. It's kind of my, you know, my palate is devoid of saliva right now. I could definitely drink more. I don't think this is amazing, but I also don't think this is bad. It's somewhere in between. I think this is just a solid, decent macro lager, or a macro-esque lager, because I think this is like their own company, brewed and bottled by Montucky Cold Snacks, La Crosse, Wisconsin, from Montucky Cold Snacks, Bozeman, Montana. Yeah, so I don't think they're owned by like any of the big boys or anything. I think this is solid, and for the price point, which we'll talk about in a second, I think I'm all right with. I'd recommend trying this one out, like I am. So I'm gonna give this. I'll give this like a straight 3.5. Now we'll go 3.55 out of 5. For like a American lager, low ABV crusher, I'd go like high threes, like maybe like a 3.9 or 3.85 or something like that. It's definitely better than a handful of the ones I've reviewed on the channel as far as like macro-esque and / macro lagers go. But it's not my favorite. And again, you really have to enjoy, I think, that apple kind of characteristic to really, I think, like this one. And yeah, pretty simplistic label too. Anyway, we're gonna throw this one over here, and price point availability. I paid $1.39 for that can, and I believe 6 packs were like $7.99. They might even be cheaper in your neck of the woods. I don't know the distro on this one, so availability, I have no idea. But if you can get your hands on this and you like, you know, again, cheaper macro-esque lagers, give this one a go if you've never had it. Would I buy this again? I don't know. I mean, Jenny Cream Ale for me is my go-to like macro beer. So it'd be hard to upset that one. Same thing with like a Miller High Life or a Banquet, or if I got hams here, I'd definitely grab that Narragansett lager. There's a lot better than this, but I think for the price point and the availability, if you want something not from the big guys, I think this would be a fine beer to grab, honestly. It's all right. So yeah, that was Montucky Cold Snack from Montucky Cold Snacks. And I'm not disappointed in the least. I thought I might be. You never know. You know, you go into these macro-esque beers, and you never know. Because sitting down in this kind of setting and kind of dissecting the beer, although there wasn't a lot to dissect here, different than drinking it with food or at the bar or whatever. Yeah, honestly, it definitely has like a cider kind of feel to it. And I'm here for it. Here's the honest to God's truth with me when it comes to beer. I told you, if you watch the channel, that I started drinking beer late 2009, early 2010, fireworks all week long. So there's neighbors or somebody blowing them off. It's ridiculous. You're going to see probably a bunch of reviews, probably spread out, where there's at least one firework going off in each review. It's insane. Anyway, I used to like ciders a lot. I drank ciders pretty much exclusively between like 2004 and 5 and up until 2009. So I like ciders. I just pick up a beer like this, I don't expect it to have that kind of cider-esque kind of feeling to it. So anyway, if you've had this one before, post in the comment section. Check back in about 3 weeks for another installment of Macro Monday here on the channel. And yeah, until then, I'm going to shut this one down. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, 4.1%. You can't tell. Cheers.